I'm Jake from TradeLab.ai, and this is the AMA on September 10th, 2022. We're going to be going through a couple things later on, but first we'll start with some questions and some wrap-up. So you guys were just talking about a few questions? Miles?
No, we were just talking about trading in general.
Right. So you got those answered?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can maybe a question about the SuperTrend, the super strategy actually in trading and how is it work. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's do that. So if we go over to... All right, we're at TradeLab here. And in fact, this is a video that I was sort of working on, so we can sort of do that as well. So what we want to do is we want to set up a simple TradingView strategy. So the first thing we'll do is press the plus button. And I've created a new welcome screen for the strategy builder. If you haven't checked out the new strategy builder, you should do so. So this is what the old strategy builder looks like. It takes a lot longer to load up. It's slower. It's a little bit harder to use, uglier. And in fact, this one is an issue with the new strategy that we have, I think. The way that it's loading. Yeah, interesting. So anyway, I did just want to show if you load up the old strategy builder and you come into here and hit the blue bar, that'll bring you to the new strategy builder, right? So when we're in here in the new strategy builder, we want to create a strategy with TradingView. So if we hit TradingView strategy, your strategy does have to be a real TradingView strategy, not just an indicator. So that would be a back-testable strategy. If you have that, you can click on that TradingView strategy button. It'll create this template for you. We'll walk through how to set up the alerts for the strategies. So for the first thing, it's going to ask us to set up our exchange. So if you haven't set up an exchange, you can do that in the settings screen, but you would just select your exchange and then select your market mode. So if you're trading contract or spot, select that, and then you would select your symbol and get that set up. Okay, and then we hit continue, and it's going to ask us for the alert instructions to set up the TradingView strategy. So if we click this, it's going to give us our message. So let's talk about what we need to set up in TradingView as far as our strategy goes. If you go to TradingView, we want to add our basic strategy. What strategy are you looking for?
I'm just looking to do a SuperTrend, so it's just a buy and sell template.
Okay, so the SuperTrend strategies right here, that's built into TradingView. Okay, and running that on BTC, we get an okay profit here. We're running it on the 30-minute chart for 1 month, I believe, is what I'm running. So it's an okay. We only get 3%. We have 9% drawdown, but it's a good place to start, right? And we can tweak these settings and mess with that. So very good. So if we start with this, all we got to do is go to the alerts tab right here and then hit the create alert button. Okay. When we're going to create our alert, we're going to select our SuperTrend strategy from the top drop down, and then it's going to make it pretty easy on us. All we need to do is put in our webhook, our name, and our message. So if we come back to TradeLab, I make it pretty easy on you. I have our webhook, our name, and our message. And all we have to do is click on them. It'll copy it. So we just do webhook, and then name, and then message. I put it in the same order, just to make it easy for you. So we want to, whatever's in this box for this message, we want to clear that out. And then we want to put in our message. Okay, so this message is already set up to work with TradingView back-testable strategies. As long as you have a strategy that's back-testing, that's doing entry and exits, this will go ahead and link up to that. If your strategy is doing an entry and like an entry for a long and then a entry for a short, and that's supposed to make it close. That will work as well. By default, what I have set up is that if you do an entry for a long and then you get an entry for a short, we'll do a swing order, which means we'll close the long and open the short, right? And so that's what we're doing there. And if you do a long entry and a long exit, of course, we just go ahead and open and then close. So that's how we set that up. This is the only alert that we need for the SuperTrend strategy. So it's really that simple. We come in here, we paste our message there, we hit create. We have our alert right here for the TradingView alert, and that'll start generating alerts right here. It'll do it on the 30-minute chart because we have 30-minute chart selected, and we had our BTC selected as well. So that's all set up. Then we go back to here. We press back, and then we hit all done. So our rules are already set up. Everything that I just said about the swing and the exits and everything, that's all in here. You don't need to change anything. It's set up for you. If you did not want it to swing and you only wanted it to close, it's really simple. All you have to do is change swing order to close order on this rule. Scroll down a little bit more, you'll see one more, swing order to close order. Okay, and that'll turn the swinging off, right? So it won't swing anymore if that's what you want. Other than that, you shouldn't have to change any of this. I will, have more videos that will describe what these do, and you can always ask questions. But for the basics, you don't have to change it. So what we'll do here is go over to trade settings, and the last thing that we'll talk about is how much we're going to trade, what type of trade that we're going to do, and our leverage and that sort of stuff. We're also going to talk about our take stop and or take profit and stop loss, right? So let's talk about setting up the trade first. We already set up the exchange and the market mode and our symbol. Our side is actually going to get set by our rules automatically. So we're going to listen for alerts and set this automatically. So this will change to like sell and buy. Don't worry about this. You don't have to mess with this. It'll do it itself. Okay. The order type is market right now. You can always change this to limit. If you do a limit, then we have to worry about our time in force. Our time in force can either be immediate or cancel, fill or kill, or good till cancel. You can also force a maker order by doing post only. If you do good till cancel, it will stay open until you cancel it. So in order for us to cancel that in a certain amount of time, we have a limit timeout. So I can, this is hours, minutes, and seconds. So I can do like 1 minute right here, and it will open it, try to fill it. If it doesn't get filled within 1 minute, it'll go ahead and close that. For our amount, setting up our amount right here, if I do 50 USD, that's going to trade $50 every time. Okay, if I want to do percentage, that will maybe be like 5%. So that would be 5% of my available balance. And then as my wallet grows or shrinks based on my profit or loss, so will this amount. So it's sort of like compounding your profits, right? We also allow you to compound a different way now. This is brand new. This is risk percentage. So if I wanted to do risk 5% and I had 10 times leverage, this goes based off of our stop loss. So you do have to set up a stop loss. I'll show you that here in a second. But say my stop loss was at 1%. I want to risk 5% and my leverage is at 10x. I would end up trading 50% of my wallet amount. So I would put 50% in, but I would only be risking 5% really because of how my stop loss is set up. This allows you to put more money behind your trades while thinking that you're only risking a certain amount. I do always caution people, if you blow through a stop loss for whatever reason, even if it's set to market and something happens, if you get liquidated or whatever, that's, you're not just risking 5%, right? You're risking 50% what you put in. But usually that doesn't happen, and it shouldn't happen. But if it does happen, it's not necessarily anybody's fault except the market, right? Because that's how those things happen. So be careful about that. So we can change our leverage type as well, and we can set up our couple other options like limit offset and stuff like that. Let's talk about, though, setting up our take profit and stop loss. So to do that, we're in trade settings right here. If we come down to the fourth button from the top, it's the plus minus. This is the lines panel. This is where we set up our take profit and stop loss. So right now we already have our basic take and a basic stop set up. And those are set up for 2%. And each time that those are hit, it's going to close the whole thing. So that's what it's set up for right now. You can always change this by pressing edit. And then you can walk through here and say, this is a stop loss line. Okay. So where do you want to place this line? If you want it to be 1%, you could say 1%, right? This is a stop loss line. So if you want it to be trailing, you just check that trailing box and it'll be 1%. It'll trail 1% behind the entry price, right? Behind the current price, right? So if we go next, we can say take from position or close position when we get hit, whatever we want to do. 100%. We can also take from original amount. So we can either do 100% of the position, and that will guarantee that we close everything. If you have two of these running at the same time on the same symbol on top of each other, and you only want one to close what it opened, so it doesn't close the other one, you can do this by doing percentage of original amount, right? So 100% there. You say next. This stop loss can be either market or limit. So all of your lines can be different types of orders if you need them to be. So this can be a limit while my take profit can be this can be a market while my take profit can be a limit. And so that's one way to edit the line. I just went through that whole wizard, right? I can also hit the quick edit and I can edit it this way. So I can say, I want to make it 1, I want to make it 2 right here, change whatever I want. Original amount on both of these, and maybe set this to limit or market, whatever I want there, right? So that's how we set that up. Press save. Yeah, so this is an example of creating our stop loss and take lines. You can also hit plus. You can say, hey, I want to make more take lines, and I want to make, 7 of them. And it'll actually walk you through how to set up either 7 of them all separately, or if you wanted to do them equally spaced, you could say, I want them to be 2% apart, and it'll just make you 7 of them, right? 2% apart. So, so that's one way to do that with your take stop. And that's really all you need to set up your, what was it? SuperTrend. We're doing a SuperTrend strategy. So that's it. It's really just setting up that alert there. And then, of course, going through however you want to set up your trade, right? So setting up all of your different options in here, setting up your take profits. And then, like I said, you probably shouldn't have to mess with any of this. And that's about it. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much.
Awesome. I did just record that as well, and I'll post that. And I'll have some more videos coming out to show more about the builder.
Yes. Thank you so much for helping. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, no problem.
Good afternoon.
Okay, take it easy.
Bye.
All right, so we got Anderson and Zell with us as well. How you guys doing? I know Zell usually chats. Anderson, if you don't have a mic, that's not a problem. We can read your chat. There's like a chat room on the AMA that you can join in. Yo, what's up, Zell? And you can chat there. So, no worries. You can also chat in general. If you want to leave a message there, it doesn't matter. All right. So, yeah, for the founders, I did a little special where we have looks like Unidin's using it. We have an AI image generator going. I'm trying to hook up an AI image generator to generate the backgrounds for profit. So like these images right here, I want to, every trade is going to have one of these that you can share, just like Bybit does or anybody else, right? And instead of just having the same image all the time, some of them let you like change, select from a couple images. What I want to do, since we're like TradeLab.ai, is I want to use these systems that generate images through AI and have them, put that in the background.
Put Picasso in the background.
Right, yeah. And so there's gonna be, the idea is if you got a pro account or whatever, and it makes sense, I bought this subscription and it's actually pretty much only a Discord bot. It's actually one of the best algorithms. It beats a lot of the other algorithms, but they don't have an API yet. So I can't actually use it unless I want to like scrape from Discord, and it's all a pain. But what I was thinking was I wanted to be able to, instead of generating AI just on the fly, which you could do if you wanted to, like on a separate page, but what I wanted to do was have a search box that just went through with their member gallery. Because if you get a subscription, you get a subscription to the member gallery, which is all royalty free. Nobody really owns anything, and it's just all the images that have been generated. And they all have different prompt tags. When you create these, you do it with a prompt, and so that tags it so that you can search for it. And what I wanted to do was ask you, when the trade is done, how did this trade make you feel? And then you type something and it goes out and grabs an image based off of what you typed and then throws it in there, right? And it would have been an AI generated image, just generated previously. Because if we did it right then, we could do it. We would just have to tell you, please wait, and you'd have to wait maybe 20 seconds or 40 seconds, however long it takes for it to generate, because it does take a little bit. But yeah, so that was my idea with the images, and it looks like some of the founders are messing with it right now. So
It's pretty fun.
yeah. Yeah, Uniden, hey, what's up?
What's going on?
Yes. So, yeah, so I just been making videos and focusing on trying to make videos and staying alive over here. It's been a hell of a week, but glad to be at the end of it. So, did we have any other questions? We did just go through a tutorial on how to set up a sample strategy in TradingView. So there's quite a few different strategies in TradingView. If you hit technicals and strategies, there's a dozen and a half strategies in here that are just built in. You can click on them and add them to your chart, and they'll even backtest for you. I'm not saying a lot of them are going to be super duper profitable. Some of them are, most of them are probably going to lose. There is a couple in here that I saw. It's like the channel breakout.
Start, bro.
Yeah, the channel breakout is a pretty good start already. It's already got a pretty good 1% drawdown and 9%. Doing on the 30-minute for 1 month. So not too bad there. And yeah, and so I just did a tutorial. I did record it on how to set that up. So that's cool in the new building.
Fantastic.
Did anybody have any questions?
I had a question about variables a little bit. I was trying to find some old content that you made on it. And one of the more relevant videos I found was from like 3 months ago, and just wondering if there was anything that that you would probably say if you were to redo it again, and
Yeah.
how should I say it? Like, have any other inputs or ideas in it? Because in parts of it, it was like, I don't know if you sped up the video and what you were saying, because I had to slow it down to like 25% because you were like rambling off so
I think there was a couple videos where I experimented with doing it at 1.25 speed because I felt like it wasn't fast enough, but then
It was hilarious. I'm like, wait a minute, why is he speaking at like such fast pace?
well, I'm already a fast talker sometimes, though. It's,
I
you
hear
know.
you.
But yeah, so when you say variables, do you mean just variables in general, or are you specifically talking about global variables?
Oh, I'm talking specifically about global variables. So, in the video that I had watched, one of the questions I was wondering that had answered it was if you have a global variable that says for true and false, if RSI is below 30, true, and when it's above 30, make it false. Or if there's other instances where if you would have to basically have another function to put it back to false so that the bot could basically continue to run after,
Yes.
right?
Yes. So I have some things that will, add some defaults and resetting functionality, easy resetting functionality later. But as a general rule in TradeLab, all across the board, you are responsible for resetting anything and everything that you're using. So if you put in a take line and you don't want that take line to be there at the beginning, you would go in and create your take line, but you would set it to inactive, right? So you'd uncheck active. When you enter a trade, you would want to set this to inactive, right? So that it stays inactive as you enter your trade, and then maybe you hit another take profit and you turn it on as active. What I'm saying is, once that happens and it turns on as active, if you don't have that rule in your entry to say turn it off as inactive, just because you came in here and turned this off does not mean it's going to stay off every time it enters the trade. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So that's just a general rule for everything, and that would apply as well to global variables.
Okay.
So yeah, did you have other questions? I was just going to go through a general spiel about global variables again, but did you have
A more specific
Yeah.
question is if you were to have, um, let me think how I want to phrase it first.
Sure. Take your time. No, take your time. Very good. In fact, I'm actually gonna grab me just some water real quick. It's been one
So,
hell
is
of a
it-
week.
Is there a way to test global variables when you create them? For example, if I used a test alert in a commander strategy that said, if you see this alert, turn this function true. And wow. On that background music and kind of distracting. If you have I'm sorry. You're good. Okay, so if you have a commander strategy that, or if you have a global variable that you want to test flipping between true and false from a test alert, are you able to do that to see that it's actually working?
Yeah. Yeah. So, for example, let's let's do this. So we're going to go plus, and we're going to create a new strategy. Okay, and the new strategy is going to have, we're just going to do an entry rule, And actually, we're going to say that this is global test A. And then we're going to go to our global variables. And we'll say global test. And this is going to be a true false. And we're going to set it to false to begin with. Okay. You know, I just noticed there used to be a little X here to close this, and it's now gone. So I gotta find that again. So many things have been shifted around. Alright, so let's go ahead and clone this. And now we have global test A and global test B. Okay. So for global test A and B, so global test B is going to set global variables, global test to false. Well, actually, it's going to look for it to be false, and if it's false, we'll set the global variables, global test to true. Okay, and it's going to do this on a heartbeat because we don't have a custom alert coming in or anything, so this is just going to run. I got this active. I'm going to press save, so that is now running. We're going to go into global test A now. So that was global test B. Global test A is going to have, it's going to be active. It's going to look for the global test to be true. And then we're going to set this to false. So global variables, global test, false. Okay, and we're going to hit save. Okay, and now what we can do is go to global variables. And global test is false right now. So then what we can do is go and look at our two different tests. And in fact, it looks like we have too many bots running, which might be the problem. So I'm just going to remove some of these. Actually, just going to set this one to inactive. Okay, it's inactive, and now I'm gonna set this one to active, and this one to active. Alright, so that happened. I saw a couple of them turning off, and that happened, I believe, because right now I'm on the free plan. Switch. Oh, it also happened because I don't have an exchange. That's what it is. That's what it is. There we go. Okay. So that's set up there, and then this one needs to be set up. Yeah, because they'll just keep turning themselves off, basically, if it can't connect to something. Okay. So we'll turn these back on one more time. And what we should be able to do now is look at the logs whenever they do run. So it'll take them a second for a alert to come through. We can also look at alert history, and we can go to system only, and we can see all the alerts that are happening. So we just had one for this minute at 3:34, and we can see that this one I don't think ran the strategies. Actually, I have superpowers, so I'm seeing everybody's strategies instead of just my own in this screen.
Okay.
It's because I'm special. What would be a good way to show that actually? So if I open up an incognito window, I won't have that superpower. So I want to log in to this one. Okay. Alright, so those are running, and if I want to look at the alert history, go to system. So back to what we were looking at, just to see, yeah, so it didn't run anything. And then if we go back to alert history, to system only, if we go to 35, okay, it's still not running, but these are running. So the question is, where is running and why? Here, running. Okay, so that was at 35, 38. So we just want to look at
Oh, maybe 36.
yeah, maybe 36. This is alert interval. It's heartbeat. Global test. Heartbeat comes in. This runs. Let's see. This.
Would you expect the global variable to kind of flip between true and false once it does start
Yes.
recognizing that?
Yes, so you'll be able to come in here and see this turn true and false. So the question is,
So if you did hook it up to a test alert and do the test alert, it could trigger it.
yes. Yes,
Okay,
you could,
that
we
was
could-
my question.
Yeah, we could do that as well. Yes, we could trigger it with the test alert. I do wonder why this is a myth. So Datadog.
By the way, for a quick tangent, I was at work the other day and this company, DeSuter, came in. I think they're based in France or whatever. But they had been working on this newer interface on how to work with something very similar to what you built here. And I was just blown away at the similarities and user interface. So I wanted to give you props on that.
Oh, nice. And who was that?
The company was DeSuter. So basically, they are a big company that works with like drivers, like handguns, drills, etc. And their main thing is basically collecting data that the torque is outputted from the drill and stores it on this big database for us to view. As an assembly company, it's important for like deep downtimes and things like that. But just the way that it's set up is very similar to how TradeLabs is with logics and stuff, and how they're trying to teach people to write their own little script and simplified it in a very similar way that you did.
Nice. Nice, yeah. It's the future. I mean, everybody that goes through like junior high school learns all this stuff now, and it's going to become, second nature. Right now, people who are myself trying to do these things, we're finding, you know, ways to make it easy for people and meeting people, you know, where they are. But soon, you know, in the next several decades, it's going to shift to people wanting more and more complicated stuff. You know what I mean? Like right now, we already have some people who are like, well, I want to do this complicated thing, but I don't really want to use a complicated tool. And no one wants to use a complicated tool, but they need the certain options, right? So they start using it. And that's just going to happen more and more as we go down the road, because people are going to get used to thinking logically, thinking with these sort of things and these patterns, right?
Right.
Because it's just being taught earlier and earlier in people's lives.
Made you inspired to do something like this? Was it related to work, the project that you were working on? You're like, shit, I could do something like this on my own, or?
Well, I mean, it really just comes down to this is what I've done my entire career is I take a particular problem or something and I introduce automation and AI to it. And I create some sort of tool that allows people to do things that they normally wouldn't be able to do, right? And so that's the fact of doing it with trading. That was more on Miles. Miles is the one who brought up that idea and sort of started that whole thing, and he brought me a really small prototype of a Bybit bot, and it just, you know, followed some signals, and he was like, you know, we should make, you know, this should be our next product. And within a week, I was like, okay, well, if we're going to do that, then we're going to set up a whole system where people can, you know, make their own, you know, because this is what I do. Like I said, like this is my MO, you know. And so,
90% of the stuff here was really based off of the products we had made before.
yeah.
That's
As a
amazing.
way.
Yeah. Inspiration was kind of driven through that.
And to be honest, we didn't do quite as much market investigation as we should have. And like, you know, like not to say we made out just fine, but like we knew about three commas just a tiny bit, just sort of knew about them. We didn't know about, you know, too many others out there. And as we've learned more and more about people, you know, we're definitely a unique way to go about it, and are more powerful than a lot of people. There are some people who have, you know, similar features to what we do and do similar things. So we're not completely new, but I think what we're unique in our approach is that if people want to go technical, there's a couple different services out there that you can get really technical, but still do visual coding and stuff, but like node-based coding where you like really got to know what you're doing, right? And so there's a couple of stuff out there that allows you to do that, but they are more like, hey, we're going to go full on technical and here's everything that you could want. Versus what I'm trying to do is sort of meet in the middle ground. I want to have all of that technical in the background, but I'm adding more and more layers on top to try to make it simple. And then if you want to dig down deep, you can, right? It just takes time.
Like there's plenty of way, way more advanced bots than what we did, but the average trader it would take them months to figure it out.
Right. Or a team of people.
Yeah, it's not, you know, it's not a scalable thing. It's not friendly at all to people who have no knowledge of development.
Have you guys tried to do some of that stuff for yourself?
What's that?
Well,
Like try to see what the real technical stuff was that they offer?
Oh no, I know it all, and we offer half of that
You
already.
guys are the gurus.
Yeah. Yeah, so we offer half of it already. It's just how they offer it and in what way we serve. We can do almost everything. Like, so the one that I'm thinking of is Hotspot. And Hotspot is a node-based programming tool that is really powerful. We can do basically everything that they can do. There's a couple things that like we have to sort of bend over backwards to do that they can do easier because
Yep.
of the way that they have. But there's also some things that it's like, well, we can do this in 2 blocks, and they have to connect 3 or 4 blocks and connect and not only just like make the blocks, but then you have to draw the lines and make sure the lines are drawn in the right way and this and that. Yeah, exactly. It's like the spider web programming, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
so I was like, some people asked me, Jake, why didn't you do that? And because honestly, I have done node-based tools. Like I used to work for game studios, and those were the type of tools that we made, right? And so I could have done that, but I've had a couple people ask me like, well, why didn't you do that? And I was like, people can't handle that, you know. People can barely handle this, you know.
I was going through the Algo trading Reddit yesterday, and the shit that that a lot of people use is straight full on Python development stuff. Like it's not friendly at all for someone who doesn't know how to write code. And that the whole thing is to be able to offer more than a grid bot and a DCA bot to people who want to automate their trades. That's the whole goal.
So it's saying action performed. The other thing too is that these are going to run one right after each other. So
flip.
it's gonna flip, yeah, immediately. So I should say like, really what we should do is here. This is what we should do. Oh, look, it's true.
True now.
It happens to be true right now. But yeah, so the idea would be like I could go to like a number and make this 1 or 0, but then I can, cycle it.
Right.
So how's this? Okay, so it's a number. So I go to here and I can say, hey, if this number is 1 or 0, so this used to be 1, so we'll go global test. If global test, oh, that's not what I wanted. If it's 1, then set it to 0. And if it's 0,
set the 1.
well, no. If it's 0, set it to 2, and then if it's 1, set it to 0.
Oh, I see. So you'll have global test B do something different than pay.
Yeah. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do if it's 0. Okay. So I didn't save that, did I?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. Alright, so save. Hang on, so just hit yes there. So that's saved, and then for B, this will be
If 0, make 2.
if 0. Make 2, and then make another rule. And actually, I'm gonna make this one. I'm gonna make 2 more rules. So I'm gonna make a utility
like
rule.
to explain utility tools next, but
Okay, well this is it right here. So if it's 0, we're gonna set it to 2, and if it's 2, then we're going to not set it to 1. We're going to use a rule timer, and it's going to run this rule, and it's going to run it after 20 seconds, and then it's going to change. It's going to take this, and if you don't enter a condition, it's always true. So it'll always run the action, and you just say set global variables, global test to 1. So then now the global test A strategy will see that it's 1 and set it to 0. right? And so the reason that we did a utility rule is because this is left open and this will always be true, right? Well, this utility rule, because it's purple, this won't run unless I run it with a rule timer. That's what utility rule means. It means nothing else. That's all it is if it's a purple rule, it will never run unless you run it with a rule timer. Okay?
The rule timer to 0, so it happens automatically, or is that defeating the purpose?
It kind of defeats the purpose, yeah. It kind of defeats the purpose. So yeah, I mean, you could set it to 20 seconds or 1 second, or 0. That would work too. But yeah, it would be the same thing as running it side by side. So at that point, we just hit save. And let's take a look at our...
Is it that the only way you could run a utility rule is by using the rule timer on the then statement for the entry rule?
Yes, that is... Well, a rule timer anywhere. You could do it in the exit rule too, right?
I
do it anywhere.
in the exit rule too.
Yes, yeah. So you can have utilities anywhere. You can run them from anywhere. You can have a utility. I can make a rule that's an exit rule, and then I can decide to make it a utility rule. Utility rules are separate from everything, so it doesn't really matter. Now I have a purple rule on this side. And technically, I can go here and do close order, right? And I could have my entry rule run this rule 3. Even though I'm running it from my entry rule, it'll run what used to be an exit rule that is now a utility rule. In fact, it doesn't even have to be a utility rule. I can change this back to an exit rule, and you can run exit rules from your entry rule using a rule timer if that's what you want to do. Yeah, and to your point, then there is a reason I could say 0, and that does give me an option that I didn't have before. Now I can run an exit rule immediately, whereas I couldn't run it before, and now I'm triggering it across the line, if you will. Right?
Correct.
So those are the cool things that you can do with rule timers. And if we go back to here, we can now see that we have 1 there, and I'm sure if we wait a little while and refresh the page, we can eventually see it change. But that's where we're at. So I do want to know what's going on with the alert history. I'm not sure that we ever figured that out. Okay. Well, no, it's doing that thing again. I also wonder if it does have to worry about, I wonder if... I don't think it would be a problem that I'm doing incognito with this. I don't see how that would be an issue. Yeah, this is still blank, but I know it's running. It's just not showing anything.
Says 6 trades triggered too.
Where does it say that?
The trades triggered 6. But there's
Oh.
nothing going on.
Well, no. This is a heartbeat, so it runs for everybody. So technically speaking, other successes happen. Yeah, and it's other people. So that heartbeat did trigger, 6 different trades at that point. That was for... Well, something is weird, because this is for 352, and if I look at it here, it says 6, but then if I look at it over here, it says... Well, but I don't do the trades triggered over here because of the admin stuff. So that might be why. But yeah, it's still working on all that sort of stuff. But we're getting there. But yeah, this is running. So I'm just a little confused at the alert history. I'm gonna this is a good example, so I'm gonna take a look at it and see what's going on with that. But yeah, so global variables, testing. Hopefully we'll be able to catch that. We can also send an alert, right? Like you were talking about, send a test alert to force it.
Force it to go back and forth. while we're on this topic, is it just as to do the same thing with a number type rather than a Boolean type? So I was wondering, like, how easy is it to have a plot number from TradingView that's set to TradeLab's global variables to change a value, like 200 EMA number, for example, like it's at 2,000 today and 2,200 in an hour. Now, for every candle, like how does it update? I think, I guess it's like a
Sure. So right now we would do that with alerts. Eventually in the future we'll have TALib, which will allow you to take that directly from the exchange without needing alerts. But for now we would set up an alert. So we would come in and create an alert, and you would want to, name that EMA or whatever that you're going to send. Your EMA that you're going to send, you would want to add a field for it and make it EMA, make it a number, and make it dynamic. And then you would have to figure out with your TradingView, you would go into TradingView, you would go to data window, and you would
if
look.
you wanted to pick RSI for an example, would you put RSI in that value field?
Right. So what would happen is you would find your indicator, your RSI, and I already have it added, but I'm just showing you. I would go in technicals, relative strength index, that would add the default RSI. If you go to your data window, you can see the RSI indicator, and we have 4 plots under the RSI indicator. The purple one is RSI, and it's named RSI, and it's in the first position. So I have 2 ways I can do this. I can either do TV plot name, and for most of the ones that are built into TradingView, this is going to work. Basically, it has to be written correctly in the script, in the Pine script
Gotcha.
for this to work. So if you do RSI, that is going to match whatever's written right here. Not in the top, right, but the plot name. So for the plot name of the purple line, I want RSI, and I would type that in. Now, this, once again, will only work if it's programmed correctly. If it's not, this will always work. So you might just want to always default to this. The plot number is a way to do it. And once again, I said it was in the first position here. So that's actually position 0. It starts at 0. So we would have plot 0 right here, and that would be our RSI. So now that's linked to that field.
I wouldn't know to pull it from RSI and not a different plot if you'd had more than one indicator on your graph.
Well, so that's something that you may not realize, and this is actually why TradeLab was invented, because if you have RSI and EMA, when you send an alert to 3 commas or something, you have to send one RSI alert, because you can only send an alert using one indicator or one strategy. So you have to have a separate alert for your RSI and a separate alert for your EMA. And then you have to combine those alerts together and compare the RSI and the EMA and say, yes, it's time to trade. 3 commas can't do that. Wonder Trading can't do that. That's why we exist.
Yep.
Right?
For you.
And so yeah, you would actually have 2 separate alerts, one for RSI and one for EMA. And for an example for that, I would have my RSI right here and my EMA. I could actually have one webhook that has
Those 2.
exactly, that has both of them. And just because I would have my plot in here and I would have number in here, and what I can do is I can make 2 alerts that would have the same template. So I would have my EMA alert, and I would say that this is for plot 0 for my EMA. And then for my RSI, I would say this is not dynamic and it's 0. Don't worry about it. And when I get my type, this is my type for this is always like my name, right? So I would just say EMA. So when I get that, I know that I'm getting an alert for my EMA, and I know to look at my EMA. I'm not even going to pay attention to my RSI in that rule, right? It doesn't matter, right? So I have this set up as RSI or name right here. I'll just do name like that, And we'll do EMA right here, right? Or plot number. Actually, I'll just do plot number 0 like this. Okay, so now that we have that, we hit save. We have our EMA. Now I can create a new one and say RSI. And even though I have EMA here, I can just switch it. I can say plot number, plot 1 or whatever I want, and then RSI right there. And now I got both. And they're still using the same webhook URL.
In webhook URL, and you would copy that message to each
Right,
alert that you create in TradeView.
right, and they're two slightly different messages, right? This one has the plot for the EMA set up, and RSI is 0, so you'd copy that for your EMA, and then you do this. It's swapped basically, and you do that. You come over here, do RSI for RSI. You do your crossing, whatever it is that you wanted, crossing down on the 70 for over bought, right? And then you would, there you go. And then make sure you get your webhook in there. And that's it. And you probably want to do once per bar close. Yeah.
Right.
And that's about it. Yeah. And then so we can say that this is RSI plus EMA, but this is just the RSI portion, right?
And if you wanted to do it based on high, open, low, close, you would just set your alert condition to Bitcoin, open price, whatever, and then
Yeah, so this is the price. So if you're looking for it to be,
if you wanted open, high, low, close, is that possible?
open, high, low, close, what do you mean by that?
Not the right where it under says Bitcoin USD 35 bit, your data window. All those
yeah.
things, how would you pull those?
How would you pull those? You would pull those by using, these are actually available all the time. So what you would do, I could be in RSI, right? And I could be doing this, and it would be in your message. You could either do close like this, which is like special, or to make it easy, because you don't remember all those, if I wanted to add a price, say price or whatever, and then I could say dynamic TV. Instead of plot name, I would do TV variable, make this a number, and then in here there is close bar price, open, high, low, volume, and these are actually available no matter what indicator that you're using.
Right, because it's just standard.
Right. And so that just goes in as close right there. We could do open, right? And there you go.
Bam.
Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of variables that TradingView has built in, and instead of remembering all of them or how they work, I've sort of listed them out. And some of them aren't named very well, so I tried to make a better name for them so that you know what they are.
Cool.
So yeah. Yes, yes. So what else are we thinking? I'm gonna
Miles, or that indicator that you showed me not too long ago, let me pull up the name so I don't butcher it.
It's just BGK level. What's up?
Yeah, the BGK levels, key levels. I was wondering, are you able to set like say the price is whatever, it's $10, and you have a couple key levels above that's like say $15, $20, and $25. Are you able to have automatic TPs set to say the top of the box or the bottom of the box? Or do you have to write something separate to kind of make that work? Like I was wondering if it'd be possible to make take a profit or a trailing stop rather that would move to say bottom of the box once it breaks the top of it, and it would continue to do that as the price were to move up. trail based on the box.
Not out of the box, no. Like, you'd have to do some custom stuff because that's just not how its indicator's made.
Right? Like the boxes are drawn and it's nice, but it can't really get the alerts from it, which I would like to use, for TP.
Yeah, you would have to do,
Have to write something
either,
up.
yeah, or manually create variables since you know the values already.
Yeah, but would you have to go in and continuously upkeep it because the boxes are always changing?
I mean, I suppose if you're on the very low time frame.
Yeah, I was probably looking more towards like the hourly. Like sometimes there's like 10 boxes and you'll be trading off in a range and then you can break out and now you have a whole new set of boxes or you only have 2 boxes.
Yeah, see, I lower my sensitivity to be extremely low because I only want a few boxes.
Right.
Because I'm only looking for levels that cause major movements.
Right. So like you have your, oh, so did you change anything other than your look left, look right? Like your ATR length, etc.
Yeah, and so there's one other thing that I change whenever I use that. It's the
Axe box for patterns.
no, it's
Alright, and that's going to wrap up this AMA. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe for more updates. Have a good one.